In a bubbling bar somewhere in Paris, everyone is dancing to the music blasting through the stereos. Youssef, our main character who is actually a con artist, keeps trying to impress a lady, named Adele, who is sitting beside her friend. Youssef feels very confident that Adele is checking him out, as she keeps glancing at him, when in fact, she and her friends are judging his looks. He decides to walk over and have a talk with her. Youssef immediately jumps to business after introducing himself. He makes a proposal to Adele about getting luxury bags promising big returns. Adele looks uncomfortable as he is sitting too close to her. Her friend steps in and asks Youssef to give her some breathing space. Eventually, the whole thing turns into a fight as Youssef manages to anger Adele's friend. The other guy sitting beside them, Hakim, who is a YouTuber, gets Youssef and tells him he will do the job he is offering for 5,000 euros. The following day, Youssef meets with Hakim and he preps him before he steps into the Hermes building to get him the Himalayan crocodile Birkin. Hakim soon comes back out, and Youssef gets disappointed as he got the wrong item. Youssef loses 9,000 euros because of Hakim's mistake. Hakim refuses to let go of the item, after realizing that Youssef doesn't want to pay him. They start fighting for the bag, and the security around runs over to stop them from creating a scene. Hakim succeeds in cycling away with the bag, leaving Youssef furious. Seems the con artist is getting conned after all. Youssef meets his friend Zach, who is on the same job as him. He bitterly complains about how broke he has become, and now he doesn't know how to face his girl who will see him as a fraud. Zach advises him to simply confess the truth to his girlfriend. He invites Youssef to come with him to a club, where they will be gambling and having a fun time. A few minutes later, they arrive at a gambling den. Youssef is in dire need of money, and he'll do anything to make some tonight. Surprise, surprise! He doesn't know what's coming his way. They soon begin playing with a couple of guys, and this pretty lady called Stephanie. Youssef soon starts losing the bets to her, and he doesn't want to go down easily. He walks over to the lady in charge of money lending in the casino and requests to have a loan. Fortunately, or rather unfortunately, her boss who goes by the name Butterfly comes in, and he makes a deal with Youssef for his vintage Daytona wristwatch. Youssef tries to bargain, but he already walks away, leaving him there to battle with one of his gangsters who recognizes him. It turns out that Youssef used to do boxing in Brussels some time back, but he ended up quitting. The guy makes fun of him because he used to get beaten up back then. Youssef soon goes back to join the others in the game, and right before his eyes, he gets beaten hands down by Stephanie. Maybe it's a sign from the heavens, but it seems Youssef is not getting the hint to just accept the defeat and go home. He walks over to the counter again and collects more money. At the end of the game, he loses it all. Well, the loan sharks want to make more money, so they continue giving him. Youssef becomes pissed and unable to control himself. He starts a fight and calls Zach for them to leave immediately. Unfortunately, the fight gets out of hand, and the gangsters step in as they thoroughly beat Youssef back to his senses. But guess what? The fury of an angry man cannot be easily quelled. Youssef fights back feistily, and he beats everyone as he makes his way to Butterfly's office. It seems Youssef is not a giver, because he doesn't want to let go of his wristwatch, and he's on his way to ask for it. One of the guys runs quickly to alert Butterfly, who brings out his pocket knife as soon as he sees Youssef coming with rage. Another bout of fight ensues, and guess who successfully retrieves his watch? Butterfly's woman picks up a gun and starts shooting. Youssef quickly exits the building after grabbing his watch. He drags Zach along with him and tells him to go start his Ferrari so they can take off immediately. He beats up everyone on his path, including innocent people doing laundry outside the gambling den. Zach drives the Ferrari to the front door, and as soon as Youssef steps in, they zoom off. The following morning, Youssef wakes up to his girlfriend Yaeli, asking why he's looking so battered. He lies about being a hero who saved a girl in distress last night. Yaeli believes him and goes on to ask for the handbag he promised her. Yaeli freaks out upon learning that he doesn't have the handbag. He promises to get it for her the following week because Hermes changed their policy. However, he will be getting one meant for the Kardashians shipped in next week just for her. She believes every word of his hook, line, and sinker. Later in the day, Yaeli and Youssef attend lunch with Yaeli's family in celebration of her mother's birthday. He brings some flowers for Yaeli's mother Sharon, and proceeds to greet Eric, her stepfather, and Ulysses, her stepbrother. Surprisingly, everyone there refers to him as Michael, including Yaeli. It seems that his true identity is a mystery, even to his girlfriend's family. After everyone is seated, they soon start singing a birthday song to celebrate Sharon, and Youssef steals the show by out-singing them. Yaeli bursts into tears at the end, and she apologizes to her mom that they couldn't get her a gift because of an incident at Youssef's workplace. Youssef takes up the explanation and starts imitating their Jewish accent as he explains to Sharon why he couldn't get her the Himalayan crocodile Birkin that they had intended to give her. Eric feels he is trying to mock them, so he shuts Youssef up and refuses to listen to his wife's pleading. He continually slaps Youssef, accusing him of messing up his wife's birthday. The struggle between both of them lasts a few minutes, and Youssef pushes him off in defense. Unfortunately, Eric lands on the table and breaks his back. Yaeli drags her boyfriend out and immediately starts packing her things. She is tired of all his lies. She offers him one last chance to tell the truth because she still loves him and is willing to have a fresh start with him, except he wants to continue lying and watch her leave. Youssef feels maybe it's time to come clean. He confesses that he doesn't work at Hermes, but he has been tracking Hermes handbags for 4 years. All he does is acquire VIPs and get them to acquire the bags, and then he sells them 4 times the price. Yaeli gets angry with all the revelations he's making. She is even more shocked to hear that he even lied about the 16,000 euros they pay for rent, which is actually 6,000 euros, and she has been the only one paying for it. He apologizes and tries to explain to her that he was forced to lie to her because she would never have accepted him if he had told her the truth from the onset. He blames her and her family, who are wealthy, and he has to do all he can to keep up with their expensive lifestyle. Youssef calms down and explains to her that he wasn't born with a silver spoon like her. Yaeli, who is back to packing her things, wonders what more he could be hiding. Right there, Youssef breaks the camel's back by confessing that his name is not even Mikhail, so she needs to stop referring to him as that. He takes off his wig and reveals his bald head as he admits that his real name is Youssef Bouazizi. What a guy. It seems that there are so many shades to him, and one can never truly tell what he is. Yaeli is truly shocked by all the lies she's been living with. She never even suspected he was an Arab, not once. Youssef makes a fuss and yells at her for being a racist, but he soon calms down and leads her to a couch to have her seat because she looks visibly shaken. He laughs with relief as he feels light. He confesses that Zach was right after all, and he should have listened to him since. Youssef makes a move to kiss her and share some suggestions on how they can begin their fresh start, but Yaeli pushes him off and calls him a monster. Her body shakes as she takes her bags with her and makes her way out. She's shaken by Youssef's truth, which she thought she would be able to handle. She walks through the door, refusing to yield to his plea. Youssef walks back inside the house in regret. He takes a look at his bald hair in the mirror and smashes an object with his head. He wants hair. He has tried implants, but it keeps failing him, and he even traveled to Turkey 14 times. He lays on the floor, sulking about feeling ugly without his wig. Later that day, he goes clubbing with the guys, but it seems it's only his body that is present. He looks moody and absent-minded while he drinks himself into a stupor. He soon begins to create a scene as he crashes into other people who are dancing. He accidentally spills some drinks on a lady who turns out to be Stephanie, the girl he lost to. Would Youssef be able to handle his emotions on seeing her? He reminds her that she's the genesis of his downfall, and she shouldn't be asking if he's faring well. Stephanie chuckles and lightly makes a joke out of his situation the other day. Funny enough, they soon get along and even get intimate as they drink and dance together until Stephanie collides with a lady while they are dancing. The lady picks a fight, and Stephanie makes sure to teach her some lessons, while Youssef smashes a bottle on a guy's head. After turning the club upside down, he drags her out laughing and falling on the street. They end up crashing at Stephanie's place. The following day, Youssef wakes up to find out his wig is missing. He starts freaking out and loses his composure. He hastily gets up and begins to search for his wig to cover his shame. The last thing he wants is for Stephanie to see his bald head. Lucky for him, he finds the wig and quickly puts himself together before she wakes up. Stephanie thinks he's got a really hot body. She asks to know more about the guy whom she spent the night getting laid with. Youssef understands that she probably did not pick his name the other day, so he begins with another bout of lies. He starts making up new lies about his identity. Youssef introduces himself as a Brazilian named Tiago. He claims that he works a 9-to-5 job at a PR company and he needs to go prepare for work. Stephanie's house is literally a garbage dump, and he wonders why she's asking so many questions about him. He loses his cool and lashes at her for living in such a place where her kitchen, room, and toilet are in one room. He feels she has no right to give him lectures on morality when she's leeching off the system, and she needs welfare to take care of herself. Stephanie then reveals an interesting story about herself. She informs him that she's into crypto, which will soon pay her off, so he doesn't even know who he is talking down on. Youssef's attention is piqued because even the last time he visited Yaeli's family on her mother's birthday, Eric and Ulysses were talking about cryptocurrency and the money one could make from it. He calms down a bit, and since he is intrigued, he reminds Stephanie that he's willing to stay for the breakfast that she promised. He uses the opportunity to find out more about this crypto thing that she is into, and he is amazed to find out that she is a millionaire. He's friendlier now, and Stephanie is still hungry for more of him. She grabs him and begins to kiss him, then makes her way to his trousers. Youssef humbles himself even though he's not so cool with it. At least he might be able to leech off her for a while when she receives her millions. At the casino, Butterfly invites his card dealer Walid over. He caught the guy through the camera footage cheating him alongside Stephanie. They get into an argument, and he ends up putting a hole through Walid's neck with his pocket knife. His cousin, who is loyal to him, gets angry that he is unable to control himself, and now he has to clean Butterfly's mess. He drags the body away from the pool of blood and laments what to do because he's in love with Walid's sister. At Youssef's place, they are playing a video game after a round of hot, intimate sessions. Youssef soon gives up and offers to teach her how to throw punches, seeing that he's losing the game. Stephanie soon overpowers him, and he cries out to her to release him. She lets him go, but not without pinning him beneath her, initiating another round of intimacy. After the whole thing, she and Youssef come out of the house. He is fully dressed like someone going to the office. He claims that he is knee-deep in year-end audits, so he may not be able to reach out to her. Stephanie believes him and bids him bye. They take different directions, and in a few minutes, Youssef returns to the apartment thinking she won't notice him turning back. Stephanie turns and he instantly claims that he forgot a file which he needs to grab immediately. At Butterfly's den, he walks in to find his boys laughing and making fun of the video that was recorded of Walid stealing Butterfly's stuff. He angrily dismisses them to go get the guy who beat them all up the other night. He also orders them to find the girl involved in cheating on him. As for Youssef and Stephanie's new relationship, they enter a grocery store to purchase some groceries. After picking up the items, Stephanie starts arguing with the cashier at the counter. She makes such a ruckus that other customers waiting in line get involved in her fight. Our crypto millionaire seems to be looking for a way to evade paying. Could she be a scam artist as well? Seeing that the situation is getting out of control, Youssef decides to pay for the item. On their way out, he questions why she wouldn't withdraw some of her money to pay for groceries instead of fighting security at the store. Stephanie insists that the more she waits, the more her money will grow. Also, she doesn't like the way he sounds as though a millionaire can't haggle with paying for groceries. The duo eventually start arguing as Youssef doesn't see sense in her excuses, and Stephanie angrily throws the groceries at him and walks away in a different direction. She gets back to her apartment, and she's preparing some dinner when she spots Butterfly's men making their way into the building where she leaves. She quickly starts thinking of a way to defend herself, but she can't overpower all the men, so she looks for a way to escape from her apartment. She exits through the window hoping someone will let her in when they find her walking through the thin walls joining their windows. Stephanie puts her Spider-Woman skills to good use here until she lands in the garbage can instead of the hard floor. The men ran downstairs, but before they could reach her, she vanished. At Youssef's place, Yaeli barges into his apartment. She comes to drop off her key and pick up her remaining stuff in the house. She informs him that her father has stopped paying the rent, so if he wants to continue paying, it's all fine. He pleads with her and tries convincing her that he misses her and that he has been trying to get another job since she left. He finally finds a way to convince her and even swears on his mother's life never to lie to her again. Yaeli cannot seem to resist his charm. She falls for him once again, and the duo starts kissing. They are about to make out when a loud bang on the door jolts them back to reality. Yaeli wonders who the lady banging the door is referring to as Tiago. Youssef comes up with another lie telling her that Tiago is his new roommate, but Yaeli quickly catches on that Youssef must have created another fake identity to fool people again. She bolts out of the house angrily and bids Stephanie luck. Youssef sees that there is no more convincing her, so he comes back to lash at Stephanie for showing up in his house unannounced. Stephanie explains that she read on socials about a girl who got defiled by some guys who heard she has $30K worth of crypto, and now she feels paranoid like someone is following her. She hands him her flash drive and asks him to keep it safe for her because all her e-trons are saved there, and if it's lost, everything she has will be gone. She even promises him a quarter of her tokens if everything goes well, and she sells all her e-trons. Youssef tries to bargain with her for more, and she finally agrees. The next day, Youssef excitedly shares with Zach and another of their friends all he will do with the money once Stephanie cashes out and gives his share to him. They try to dissuade him from believing an alcoholic who is trying to mess with his brain. The guy spots Butterfly's men coming and quietly runs off without alerting Youssef, who soon gets the beating of his life. Youssef gets dragged to Butterfly's den. His face is masked in his blood from the thorough beating he received. Butterfly burns the remaining stick of his cigarette in Youssef's eye, and drags his hair thinking Yusef's body will follow. Oops! The men burst into a fit of laughter seeing Yusef's bald head. He joins them in laughing at himself mockingly and promises to pay all the money back. Butterfly asks his men to take off Yusef's trousers as he threatens to cut his privates. Yusef shivers and promises to pay back in installments. Butterfly gives him a grace period of 10 days to pay back, or he'll have him eat his privates. The next day, he applies makeup to cover his scars and kisses Stephanie, who spent the night in his house. He lies to her that he needs to head to work now and bid her goodbye. Later, he is on a ride with Zach, who gives him a piece of advice on how to handle the issue. He suggests that Yusef quit lying, tell her the truth, and ask her to cash out some of her crypto for him so he can pay back Butterfly. After all, Stephanie knows about the incident at the casino. Yusef doesn't want to hear any of his advice, so he asks Zach to stop the car so he can get out, as he has 8 hours to burn. Zach, as a good friend, offers a job for Yusef at the carport, but Yusef only insults him and the fake cars he sells. It ends up in a fight between the two before Zach drives off. He thinks of ways to make a few bucks, so he enters a market where they sell fake bags. After picking a few and pretending like he's going to purchase them, Yusef jets off. He stops at a busy area and tries to get a couple of people to purchase the bags. Unfortunately, it doesn't go down well as he soon spots the men coming after him again. Yusef gets back home to meet Stephanie. To his surprise, she invited her male friend to his house. She explains that Najib needs help with an audition, and she requests that they have him over for dinner since they still have one more scene to rehearse. Yusef is obviously not cool with the way things are going, but he's willing to endure all of it for the greater good. Then after he achieves his goal, he's going to send Stephanie away because he's so tired of her lifestyle. The following day, Butterfly and his cousin show up at the spot where Zach sells his fake cars. They take him aside and demand for him to spill the truth about his friend, or else they will mess him up in front of his customer. He sees Yusef as his brother, and he doesn't want to snitch on him, but at this point, he needs to save himself. He reveals Yusef's plan on how to get some millions from Stephanie. Butterfly and his cousin inform him that Stephanie was in on a con with the dealer, Walid, at the casino the other day. They threaten him not to breathe a word about his encounter with Yusef, and then take their leave. Yusef keeps spending time with Stephanie in a bid to smoothen the ground and make her feel he's not after her money. He comes across a romantic photo of Yaeli and a new guy in her story. He feels really heartbroken, but he intends to continue with his plans, which will give him the right amount of money to win her back. He steals a dress from a store and gives it to Stephanie. He takes her out on a fancy dinner date just to impress her. Quite an ambitious man, isn't he? He feels grossed out watching how she chews with her mouth wide open. Naturally, he wouldn't stay with someone like her, if not for what he stands to gain. Their date ends in a quarrel as Yusef keeps making fun of Stephanie's facial features and Stephanie angrily takes her leave. As usual, Yusef takes off without paying the bills. Butterfly and his cousin, who has been watching him, wonder if Yusef truly has money with the way he's running out of the restaurant. The next day, Zach is about to get beaten by some dudes who realize they purchased a fake vehicle from him. Thankfully, Yusef steps in and appears to want to help by getting the 80 euros from Zach and giving it back to the customers. Zach hands it over, and instead of giving it back, Yusef hides it in his pants while threatening the guys to run off before he beats them up. He comes back to Zach requesting to have some cash, and his friend makes it clear that he's aware he didn't give those guys the 80 euros. Yusef quits the act and laments over his situation and how their friend, Boris, had taken off with his ex Yaeli. Zach calms him down and reveals the truth he learned about Stephanie. Minutes later, Yusef angrily walks into the house to find Stephanie with Najib, who he throws out immediately. He confronts Stephanie and her lies. He asks her to pack her things and get out of his house before he gets back from his walk. They even end up wrestling during their argument. Stephanie sheds tears as she picks her things one after the other until she hears a knock on the door. She opens it to let Najib in since he's insisting on helping her pack, but to her dismay, it's Butterfly's men. They chase her all around the house while Najib runs away. Yusef sees him from where he is discussing with Zach and asks about Stephanie. He suspects something is wrong, especially with the bloodstains on Najib's face. Yusef arrives at the house to find them trashing Stephanie. He fights them off and saves her, then they escape on her scooter. Stephanie reveals that each run will be crashing in an hour, and no one will be able to sell it soon. They get into another argument with Stephanie requesting to have her flash drive back. She walks away from him, ignoring his explanations for calling her ugly. Seems like Yusef's sweet tongue finally gets to her after he tells her all the weird things he likes about her. She stops and informs him he shouldn't have lied to her because she doesn't care that he is bald and broke. Yusef is shocked that she knows about his baldness all this while. He pulls off his wig, exclaiming, "That's the reason he loves her." She knows about his real look without the wig, and she's cool with it. What's there not to love about her, right? Unfortunately, Stephanie suddenly gets hit by a van driven by Butterfly's men and carries her body into the vehicle. Yusef chases after the van until he catches up with them. The fight and struggle for the flash drive gets fierce. Both Yusef and Stephanie fight the men with all their might until Butterfly accidentally stabs his cousin. They take this opportunity to escape. Butterfly feels so heartbroken and full of rage at his beloved cousin's passing. He points a gun at a random biker passing by and steals their bike in hot pursuit of Yusef and Stephanie. While trying to get Butterfly off his trail, Yusef crashes the van and ends up flinging Stephanie off. Thankfully, the airbag activates, else he might have lost his life. He gets out of the vehicle and reaches for Stephanie, who looks almost lifeless on the floor, where she's lying. He calls the ambulance to come pick them up. Meanwhile, Butterfly struggles to get on his feet. He moves over to them and points the gun at them as he intends to shoot them. Unfortunately, his gun is empty, so he shoots only blank shots. A few moments later, they are at the hospital as Stephanie is in critical condition. Her family as well as Yusef gets up as the doctor comes requesting to see her family. Stephanie's father follows the doctor into the emergency room. Yusef stays behind since they've agreed that he will take her home. He looks through his phone and sees a video message from Yaeli. He puts the phone away, refusing to hear what she has to say. Soon after, Stephanie's dad walks out to meet him. He wears a sad face as he announces the passing of his daughter to Yusef. The both of them lean on each other crying as they step into the ward. Yusef thinks back on the moments they spent together, the intimacy, fights, fun, how she used to gross him out, and everything. They enter the ward, and it dawns on him that he just lost the love of his life. He lies by her side crying. Her father suggests he take Stephanie's socks, if it'll help him remember her. He explains that smell helps people to remember, and Stephanie, who can no longer keep pretending to be lifeless, breaks out of character. Seems like Stephanie gets her playfulness from her father. She laughs at him and tells her father to go so she can talk to Yusef, who is dumbstruck. She asks if he cashed out the E-trons, and she starts blaming him for giving the flash drive to Butterfly. Yusef keeps insisting that he did it to save her from being shot. In the end, Stephanie confesses that the whole E-tron story was only made up, and that she doesn't have any of it. Yusef laughs with her, realizing that all of what they went through was for nothing, but at least he has Stephanie now, who loves him as he is. Turns out, love is quite unpredictable. The story ends with Butterfly wearing the flash drive which he still believes contains the E-tron on his neck, driving the bike and beginning to lose consciousness from all his injuries. He soon joins his beloved cousin's passing, as he suddenly gets hit by a truck.